Alright, think it looks like it's working. That's good. I want to try something, but last time I tried it messed up my stream, so I'm gonna try it some other time. I'm like legit worried it's just gonna take a big shit like it did last time. Mic sounds good, everything sounds good. Desktop audio solid. Oh, one thing we are missing here. Some of that action right there. For everybody else to jump on. Hopefully it'll upload my video like it's supposed to this time around. Who knows if anybody's even getting any notifications at this point. C'est la vie. This thing always gives me issues. I noticed that last stream I didn't have my noise suppression on properly, and it sounds like shit. So my apologies for that one. Fucking updated the what do you call it? The you know, look or whatever, and didn't make sure to have my audio on there correctly. What a fucking boomer I am. Sounds about right though. Yeah, right. Volume's a little high, maybe. The background reason, some people don't like the background music or whatever, maybe it's not their choice of music, but I usually have it because it helps me stay kind of on task, stay concentrated. I've explained before how it doesn't, it keeps my mind together a lot better because it doesn't let it stray off in various directions and various topics, and try to keeps me on the kind of straight and narrow when it comes to topic, because otherwise my mind tends to drift in a variety of directions and all sorts of things start firing up, so it kind of almost suppresses the noise inside the old brain. So it works good. Not that I'm not talking like auditory or hallucinations or anything. It's just things get a little scattered and I'll kind of zone out and stuff. So it makes it easier on me. I don't know why. When it's just too silent, I go all over the place. Usually. By the way, a benefit or a good thing for all you people that don't like how long it takes me to get started, or not knowing when certain topics are going to come up because you're not interested in everything that's being talked about, whatever. Point is, I'm working with someone right now that's it's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to get all the, or at least the vast majority of the Schizoid Angst variety, cluster A variety hours with timestamps in the description. So that way, we can actually have proper timestamps. And people can just click wherever, whatever seems interesting to them, instead of having to try to listen through the whole fucking thing and discover, oh, I didn't like this. So I guess that might make it way better, way easier. Hey, what's up, Miloid? How's it going? So I'm having myself a nice 4th of July. Oh, that's what I fucked up on. I didn't call it that. That's how much I pay attention to shit like this, right? That's how much I pay attention to stuff like holidays and things that I forgot to even put it in the title. Yeah, that's what I should call it. Schizoid 4th of July. There we go. Makes more sense. 4th July. There we go. I'm gonna call it that. That makes more sense, I think, in the long run. Is that why it keeps doing that? 255? Yeah, it's playing. I don't know. I've been having a weird issue with Streamlabs in which it I do the live thing, and then for one reason or another, it takes like a weird shit where like it doesn't actually upload it to VOD or whatever like immediately after, but sometimes it does. It's really random. Schlolling, forgetting holidays is very relatable, right? That's my life, dude. If it wasn't for the fact that people tell me I have a birthday, I'd probably forget about it pretty quickly. If it wasn't that, you know, you're always reminded every year. Sometimes I forget what age I am, to be honest. Right now, I think I'm 37, but sometimes I think I'm 36, so I'm not sure. Anyway. I guess it doesn't really matter. Oh, there's 6 of you. Cool. Okay, I just want to see a couple people jump on before I get going and get started. Whatever it is that's popping into my fucking head. I just figured, I mean, it's not like a lot of... I was going to stream for like an hour and a half or so. I figured there isn't a lot of schizoids out there doing a whole lot of celebrating right now. Since, you know, holidays aren't exactly a thing that we're super into usually. And many of you probably don't want to go out and drink and party, so you know, this will give some people something to listen to for a little while, as well as those who maybe listen to it later when they're at night sitting at home eating a TV dinner and glad they're not at a, you know, drunken party or whatever, or maybe they're not so glad. I don't know. I guess it varies. It's very different for each individual. I like to have the Reddit up because it's a good way to just kill time if I have to. And I also have what I want to do today for maybe the first half is talk about things like holidays like 4th of July or nationality and what that means to the schizoid and how it might not mean much. And I just want to hear a little bit about your experiences if you guys are down to share. Yeah. And then for the second kind of half of this, I want to go over this piece of research that I kind of just stumbled across that I don't know anything about. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to just like start reading research like I did last time. That was really fun. That last stream and that piece of research I read, that was entertaining to me. So hopefully it'll be entertaining to you guys. If it's not, then, well, I guess fuck you, whatever. Deal with it. Unless you're my patron. Then of course I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you did not find it entertaining. Please don't leave me. I need your money. But, yeah, that's neither here nor there. Feel bad for whoever has to timestamp this. Schonling, whatever, Wunderbar. Some people forget all birthdays after their 20th, but that may not be a Zoid thing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not just a Zoid thing, but... Yeah, but if it wasn't people reminding me, I'd probably forget all the time. Like, I probably wouldn't even know, you know? Okay, so those are the things I want to talk about today. Piece of research I want to go over just for fun. And before that, though, just the 4th of July and what it means. And to us. Not necessarily just the 4th of July, but just nationality, national holidays, and various things like that. Oh, by the way, hopefully any garden hermits listening out there want to jump on the stream and talk a little bit. You're more than welcome to. We can talk a little bit about your own experiences on you know, certain holidays and stuff. Nice way to kill time if you're not doing anything particularly special on this day. But I'll talk about, I guess, my own things for now, just to kind of get things started. So 4th of July for me has always been kind of a day where it's like any other, but I get to smell gunpowder. So the one thing I do like about 4th of July is the smell of gunpowder. I like how it smells. I don't know why. I find it nice. I like the way the outside smells. So sometimes I would like to go outside when 4th of July. I like the way the sounds, like the actual fireworks going off, the explosions. I find them kind of comforting. Like when I go to bed, like if I go to bed like at midnight and there's still fireworks going off, it's pretty cool. It actually helps me sleep. The smell is nice when you're outside with the gunpowder. The lights and such they're cool, I guess. I'm more into the auditory aspects of it, that I find more kind of, I don't know, enjoyable. The meaning behind it, I find interesting on a historical level because, you know, history is kind of my deal. But do I have like this kind of feeling of like, you know, strong sense of nationality or whatever? Not really. Here, I'll put this up. There we go. So you can feel like America You can feel the true power of America right there, guys. So that's good. This is Bill right here. If you ever watch King of the Hill, it's kind of how I see a lot of people during their national events. Inarticulate yelling. And when people, you know, get really into their nationhood things, I understand it. I can see the practical aspects of nationhood and having a cohesive nation that's unified under its banner. That makes absolute sense to me on a pragmatic level. I'm not going to argue against that. Even if I don't personally feel connected to it. But it has more to do with my schizoid personality than it has anything else. I don't know. But I also understand that I do enjoy the aspects of my particular country, the United States, aspects regarding freedom of speech and other things that I do have an appreciation for. Certain types of a lot of the stuff that was discussed in those Federalist Papers and otherwise that kind of developed into some of the freedoms that we currently possess, even if we are losing a lot of those freedoms in a lot of subtle ways, are things that I particularly enjoy as a, I guess, quote-unquote American. But I can't feel any emotional connection to things like nationality. And if you do, then cool. That's no hate, you know? I'm not saying I'm better for it or anything. That's stupid. I'm just saying I can't personally do it. I mean, when you can't emotionally connect or socially connect to most people, then what the fuck are you doing connecting to a nationality, right? Like, it just seems a bit silly. I mean, like, I don't understand how you could do that but not everything else. Maybe there's an intellectual way that you do it, and you have like this particular respect for the nation you were born into for very specific reasons. So if that's the case, that kind of makes sense to me to a point. I could see you can make an argument like that. Wonderbar says, German national pride is really strange. We are proud of not being patriotic, so celebrating national holidays means we get ample opportunity to ignore our country appropriately. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't feel emotionally connected to my nation, both either negatively or positively. I don't have like this adamant, you know, like people out there that have this hatred for their own country, like they're really emotionally connected to the country in their, like, I guess, hate or disdain. And I also don't have any kind of positive connections to it. I'm just kind of I like the only positive connections is I like some of the stuff that has come from things like the Constitution and the Federalist Papers and things of the nature that eventually developed. And I know there's contradictions and there's a lot of problems and such, but I still wouldn't want to be born in a different country probably than this one, based on what's available to me at the moment, like, I guess, freedom-wise. Because if you want to roll the dice again, you might get something much worse, and I don't want to roll the dice. I'm good. I don't need a re-roll on that one. I don't need to re-roll the d20. I landed on a half-decent one. We're pretty good. We're pretty set. But I want to hear kind of like about your own experience, I guess, when it comes to nationality and national holidays. Like, as a schizoid, if you are a schizoid, how is it that, like, you feel when people have like these kind of like really grand events, and you see it on television, and you see it within your family, and you see it in neighbors, and people start putting up all sorts of things? Like, how do you, like, are there aspects of those celebrations that you enjoy that aren't necessarily connected to the sense of nationalism? Like, for example, I like 4th of July because of the smell of gunpowder and the big booms. And I like hearing the big booms and the gunpowder. I like that. That part's cool. Milo asked, when Schizoid D&D? Pretty soon. I'm trying to get it going here. It just takes a little time because, you know, I got to get the confirmations, which I think I have pretty much now. It's going to be a 5-party team, so it's going to be a full party. Just in case somebody drops out or something, we'll still have at least 4 people. And, you know, there's no obligations. It's going to be a fun thing. I'll probably do a stream of some kind in which all of us get on and just kind of discuss what the game is and what we're supposed to do or probably make an announcement of who we are and then introduce once we get all the behind the scenes done. It's the behind the scenes that tends to like take more time and effort and such beforehand. But once all that's done, then we'll have that Schizoid D&D. It's going to be interesting to say the least. Get 4 Schizoids to work together, be forced to work as a team, is going to be like a revolutionary thing probably in and of itself, right? Oh, cool. Actually, here, this is great. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna have to put a pause on this particular conversation because we might have a guest. Give me 1 quick second. Holy shit. Give me 1 second here. Doop doop doop. I gotta hop into the other one so that we won't be like interrupted and stuff. Let me send him a link. Such a boomer, dude. It's like crazy. Alright, so I will gladly give you a link if you're listening out there. Give me 1 second. Just give it to you on Twitter or whatever. So bad at this. Hilarious how bad I am at all this, but one day I'll learn, right, guys? This will be a really interesting guest. I wasn't expecting an actual confirmation of hanging out for a bit. So, there we go. There, this will be way easier. Alright. We shall see if this works like it's supposed to. Won't we? If I get the guest person to come in and talk with me for a little bit, that'll be fun. Somebody that's actually really familiar with human behavior and sociological stuff, and you know, regardless of your opinions on their political views or whatever, let's just leave that at the door. I don't care about that stuff. That's not what I want to talk about. Hey Dylan, what's up? You'd be a Void Cleric, Wonderbar? Old One Warlock? I don't know what I want. I don't know what class I want to be, honestly. As far as that stuff goes, I'm thinking, I don't know. Maybe I'll just pick some like the least edgiest possible class to be, like a bard or something. Everyone joked that if we do a Schizoid D&D, it's just gonna be nothing but like Drizzt rogues. It's just gonna be 4 fucking Dark Elf rogues. Sorry if any Garden Hermits are like, hey, where is he? Why isn't he on the live stream? I had to jump on a different server because I'm dumb, and I have a separate one for having a guest come over that I just kind of want to have a one-on-one with for now, until they have to leave or something. Once they do leave, so on and so forth. Just go from there. Zoid inspiration. Right. I don't know. I think it'll be fun, but at least while we're waiting here, if you know they do decide to pop in, I'm gonna talk about what I was saying. So, what about you guys? Any experiences with like issues? The nihilistic bard sounds hilarious. Yeah, I think I might do it. It might be really fun. I'm just gonna sing like really depressing songs. Though I'm not gonna sing because I'm a terrible singer. That's the problem. I kind of don't want to be a bard because then people expect you to actually sing and do rhymes and shit. And I'm like, I'm not the best poet, on the spot poet. So maybe somebody else should probably be a bard. But there are a few classes that it could be funny to be. But I really like to be a bard just because I'm supposed to be inspirational. Hallow the Gallow. I'm just gonna be singing Iron Maiden songs and shit, and just black metal. I want to be a black metal bard. Ooh, what do you guys think of that? A black metal bard. Toxabi, Drunken Master, or Swashbuckler. I like the idea of a black metal bard. Just with the death paint and everything. Just walking around with like spikes and shit. And I would inspire my my fellow party members with songs of their impending doom and death. Somehow that would actually inspire them to fight on. Just sardonic songs of our impending doom. Pretty funny. Kind of like the I guess if I would be a bard in D&D and I wanted to retain my kind of personality, like if I want to self-insert, it'd be closer to the jester in the Darkest Dungeon. For me anyway. Metal bard sounds dope. Yeah, black metal bard. It's fucking funny, dude. Yeah. But yeah, just the Darkest Dungeon jester would probably be like the equivalent of what I would want to be as far as that sort of stuff goes. And just like somehow make my my party laugh with songs of demise, like, you know, gallows humor songs. Self-inserts don't work. Apathetic is not viable alignment. No, but we're gonna do it anyway, Wonderbar. Because like my goal for this D&D is just to make it funny and enjoyable, especially since it's some of them are people that have never played, so they're kind of noobs and stuff. So the goal is to get the other 4 players, so all of us, because we're all, you know, a bunch of diagnosed Zoids, and I told them, pick your class, pick your person, like pick your race, all that normal stuff. I got one gentleman that's going to be running it. He's going to be DMing, and I want them to self-insert their personality into whatever class they decide. So it's going to be like legit 5 schizoids. Like forcing, like being put into a position in which they need to work together for whatever story-related reason. And it's going to be pretty funny. I just want to see how, like, what kind of stuff distracts people, what kind of stuff are players actually motivated by or interested in, or are indifferent to, or care about and don't care about. Like, I just kind of want to see kind of what kind of decision-making processes we're gonna go through with a bunch of schizoid players. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do the black metal bard. That sounds really fun. Yeah, we have some fun ideas. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. It's either gonna be really cool, it's gonna be really lame, and it's gonna suck, and it's gonna be cringe, and it's gonna like fail on like the first or second stream. So we'll see. Come on, person. I hope you jump in. I don't want to say which person it is because I want to see if they actually hop in, and then I can say, ta-da, person to talk to. But, you know, it's up to them. It's like whatever. I found this clip of Howler Monkey with death metal overdubs. Yeah, my favorite classic was the overdub was that old, I think it was, like, what are those churches where people, like, you know, shake and jump around and dance and go crazy and stuff? And they were playing Slayer. Yeah, that was like a classic. The goal is to get a permit from a corrupt king to have a lot of land to build a forest cabin. I mean, it's gonna be funny because, like, I'm sure the whole point of any of these adventurers doing anything would be to, like, garner enough gold and treasure to eventually do that, to be left alone. Wunderbar, would you still be a Zoid if you could be leveling as a magic user? I don't know. Who cares? Let's make it work. That's all that matters. So guys, while we're waiting to see if they click on the link or whatever, tell me your experiences with stuff like national holidays. Like, what are your thoughts on it? I got 10 viewers here, so come on, lurkers. Just gonna type it in. Fuck it. Remember, if you don't want me to read it out loud, just put that little kitty cat box thing right in front of your thing, and I'll try to remember not to read it. And you can hate me if I do, but I think I'll remember. I think I'm intelligent enough to at least do that much. But if you want me to read it, or you don't mind if I read it out loud, just type it in chat. Tell me whatever interesting story you may have pertaining to that. I hope this person jumps on, only because I have some like really interesting stuff and questions I want to go over. Simple stuff. I'm not gonna grill them on anything they do. I don't give a shit about that. I mean, well, I do. I mean, whatever. But you know what I'm saying. Like, it's somebody that might have some interesting insights into questions and things I brought up in the past. So come on, any short tales? Dylan. My family didn't celebrate because of Family Feud, but I normally like the free food. How bad is the Family Feud, Dylan? Like, and are you part of it, or do you just watch on and shrug your shoulders? I've seen Family Feuds a lot, and it's just kind of like you have nothing to do with it. You're not really part of it or anything. So it tends to usually be that way. Oh man, I'm tired. I am running on fumes, man. Like, no joke. Trying to see if I can change this up right here a little bit. On window. No, not you. There it is. I'm not part of my uncle and grandfather aren't talking right now. I'm not part. Yeah, dude. That's another interesting conversation thing. Like, if you're talking things like Thanksgiving and other holidays, like how many of you like see all these family feuds and all these issues happening within the family, and you're just kind of sitting there like, why is everyone angry all the time? I don't understand what the big deal is about all this. Like, you just feel like it just feels dumb and like a huge waste of time. And then you wonder, like, why do we keep having these events if they always just end in travesty? Like, and why do I have to participate in them? That part's always funny to me, especially growing up. It was always interesting to see like shit go down on things like during Christmas time and stuff, and you're just like, why is all this? Can't we just not do this thing we do every year that generally ends in tears or yelling? Like, that'd be rad. Can we just avoid that? It might be better for everyone involved if we didn't have the celebration. I don't think I ever had issues in 4th of July specifically. But I just think it's funny. Like, there's also certain holidays Dylan participates because of the free food. Well, hey, you know what, Dylan? That is a good reason, if any, to participate in any of this. So I can't quite blame you for that one, bud. Dylan eats free for a week with leftovers, especially if you're talking Thanksgiving. No, for sure. Hey, you know, that brings another subject on, is like, what I find funny is like I try to like get you guys to maybe type something in chat that's like, you know, that can maybe trigger some further aspect of conversation, and it just makes me laugh because it usually doesn't happen. But I'm thinking to myself, look at my demographic, like, what the fuck am I doing, like trying to get people to tell me things? It's super funny. It's super funny to me, and I just end up having to banter on my own usually, but I don't really mind too much. It just makes it more fun, I guess, if there's somebody else to bounce ideas off of. Right now, I had just been eating hamburgers, so I had myself some fucking cheeseburgers. I drank some Coke Zero with vodka, and vegged out for a second, chilled. And now I'm here instead. So, wondering and waiting. But as far as other national holidays go, that's also just as confusing because, like, okay, so my background is Costa Rican. I'm Central American, I guess. That would be like my family. So I find it interesting too. And my wife's background is Mexican, right? So I'll see like people celebrate holidays and national holidays and all kinds of things on either side of, whether it's, her family or my family or whatever. And again, I'm just like perplexed by all of it. Especially like if you dig into like those individuals, either histories or, the current state of affairs in some of those nations. It's like, what exactly are we celebrating here? Like, I'm very confused. I think I understand what you're celebrating, and it's more of a concept. It seems like a lot of the time when people are celebrating their individual nationhood, like in a holiday, they're celebrating a concept, right? So I can kind of understand that. That makes sense to me. So looking at it as a concept in which, you flourish the ideas that initiated the advent of your particular nation. But then it becomes difficult because a lot of those ideas or the concepts aren't exactly being implemented in any realistic way in your nation. So then it gets really confusing as to what it is exactly that you're celebrating. Are you celebrating what seems to almost be a delusion? Are you celebrating a perceived reality of some kind that doesn't exist in actuality? Or are you maybe celebrating what you wish things were like, or what you imagine things would be like if things are implemented properly or done how they were initially intended? Like, is that what we're celebrating? So, and I feel like sometimes people aren't celebrating necessarily their nation; they're celebrating like their upbringing, their culture, maybe, and not so much their nation. But even then, that comes with a lot of questions that most can't seem to answer, and whatever. I just find the whole thing fascinating, to be honest. Perplexing more than anything else. And that's another funny thing if you want to talk about national holidays is like a lot of people tend to work during those national holidays regardless, right? Like, or some, federal holidays or whatever you want to call them, right? There's some holidays that exist out there that allow federal employees to take the day off, right? Is Juneteenth the new Juneteenth thing? Is that a federal holiday? Can somebody tell me in chat, like, is that a federal holiday now, the Juneteenth thing? Celebrate America because we are the greatest country in the metric. Don't at me. In every metric. Oh, okay. We are the greatest country in every metric. Don't at me. No, I get like, but like, is that all we're celebrating? Like on 4th of July? Like, I get the historical context of what is being celebrated, but what I'm saying is that, like, as a schizoid, like, I just wonder, like, what exactly am I celebrating? Like, oh, we're currently at the top of the body stack and the money stack. Like, we're currently at the top. We're playing the game the best. Is that what we're celebrating? We have the brute force. We have the hard and soft power. It is federal employees get off for it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Juneteenth's a federal holiday? Oh, man. That hurts my soul, dude. I hate it. Like, in my honest opinion, it's just another way to feel good about themselves. But the idea that people celebrate something that is not themselves on national holidays is kind of fascinating. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, I mean, just people celebrating things that aren't... I don't even understand celebrating myself, much less celebrating other things, but whatever. That's just, comes with the old PD, probably. But, no, what I find interesting is that, like, what can you truly define what it is you're celebrating? And if you can, it's going to be full of, like, really weird contradictions and holes and things, and it makes for an interesting discussion, but I don't... Like I said, I can't get past it. I can't get past what it is exactly I'm shooting. Like, why am I shooting up fireworks? Like, why am I shooting them into the air? is it representative of the Revolutionary War? Is it representative of our independence? Like, but is it really my independence? Is it the independence of our ancestors? Some of which aren't actually our ancestors. Like, it's so confusing. Is it a recollection of how it used to be and how it is not now? Is it a like what are we doing? It's almost like a solemn reminder of how awful other things have gotten, and better have other things maybe have gotten. You are also closest to Kath them all, according to your prison record. What? I don't know what that means, Wonderbar. You are also closest to Kath. Fireworks are canon. Yeah, I get that, but not really. And people don't think about it like that. People just want to see pretty fireworks just explode in lights, and people just want to light shit on fire. Like, the vast majority of people that are firing fireworks aren't doing it out of a sense of pride for anything. They're just doing it because they want to light shit on fire and watch stuff explode. I think it's pretty base level, like the actual reasons behind why people participate in things like fireworks. I have trouble believing they're actually Oh, Aydin, are you there?
Hey, what's up, homie?
Oh shit. Okay, cool. Man, you snuck right in. I didn't even see it. How long have you been sitting there?
Like 2 seconds.
Oh, okay. Good.
Not even at all.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi there. So everybody, this is Aydin Paladin. They have their own channel. I'm gonna have to now that they actually showed up, I'm gonna have to put a link in my description. But isn't that how it works? I don't quite understand YouTube etiquette because I don't do this kind of shit as much as you guys. But
yeah, I just personally don't care. To be I don't care, man. You do what you want. Don't worry about it. People who know me, and who don't, well, they can look it up. Don't worry.
All right. Whatever. You already said don't worry about it, so I'm not gonna fucking worry about it. All right. So
exactly.
Yeah. So no, right. Well, the initial thing I was talking about was a schizoid nationality and schizoid understandings of nationhood, and how it doesn't make any sense to us because of our particular PD and all that kind of shit. But that's kind of ties into what I wanted to ask you about and why I have you on. And by the way, if anybody knows Aydin, also, she's not here to talk about like politics or any of that shit. That's not what I have you in here for today, because I know that's
yeah, that's
because
I'm talking on my laptop and not from my normal mic. So sorry about that.
No, it's okay. But that's not what I have you on here for. That's not what I wanted to discuss. I wanted to actually, because I listen to you. I watch your videos a lot, and I like your insight. I'm not like a stan, so I don't agree with everything. And on top of that, yeah. And on top of that, I watch Adam and Sitch all the time, like every week, and it's really nice when you get on there. So then you get some interesting research-based perspectives, and you do some interesting research that Sitch doesn't necessarily get into, and Adam definitely doesn't. So
it's not their fucking job to like research stuff.
That they're a comedy show. I know.
It's a comedy show, to be fair.
What happened? No, that's the joke right now, right? They're a comedy show. Yeah. No, they got the comedy down, to say the least.
When I pop in and bring up studies that they haven't read, like it's not on them. And really, when I'm like, oh, I have to go look it back up.
Yeah.
The problem is that my head is full of, okay, I've been reading research on a daily basis since I was really about 22. I've read research before that, but I mean,
I'm familiar with your autism. Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can call it that, and that is accurate, to be honest. But
it's okay. It's
really accurate. No, I'm a bit autistic, and the reality is that I was diagnosed as autistic at one point, and then I like got mad at the guy who diagnosed me with it. So I don't know how true that is, but
no, it's probably true.
I mean, very few women are autistic.
No, I know, but just based on, what's funny is it's something I've always wondered about you, because I've been watching your stuff for a while, and I've actually watched you on a very. And I always kind of, you always made jokes about it, but I always thought, she's probably not far from the truth. There's got to be something going on there, because I could just tell by your kind of speech patterns and your behavior and certain little things you do.
Well, it's very rigid, isn't it? And that's the problem.
It's not rigid. It's just like a certain intonation in your voice that I've heard in other people that are schizoids specifically or autistic. Like they have this kind of interesting intonation, and like in their voice, the way it flows.
If it's schizoid, I that's been brought up to me. I mean, obviously that's your.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying.
I don't know if that's correct, and I'm
Whatever,
I am not.
Who cares?
I do have a master's degree in psychology. It is not in clinical psychology, as I tell everybody all the time. It is not clinical psychology.
It's all good. It's all good. That's not what I need you to do here today, or what to talk about. What I want to bring up today, so we can just get to the point or whatever, because you probably have 4th of July to celebrate. I don't know what your time zone is or all that shit.
It's almost midnight here in Bongland, so it's like almost over.
Oh, okay, good. Then I caught you before you went memes. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about a little bit, and just to get your opinion on, is that there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings regarding the schizoid. And I guess what I'm doing right now with this channel, as well as the server, I got like a server with like 200 plus schizoids on it. A good majority of them are diagnosed. Same thing with the channel. It seems to gravitate towards, but there's nothing really on YouTube much, for I guess our PD or our people, because of a variety of things that you're probably somewhat familiar with when it comes to schizoids, that they don't really self-report, they don't really like actually, go seek help and all that kind of stuff, right? And go ahead. Sorry.
I think more than anything, the problem with schizoid is that the prefix there makes people think that you're evil because of the skis.
Yeah. There's always a connotation, or it's used as what's the word? Schizo is used as a pejorative. So
right. Whereas with schizo, it's a very specific sort of diagnosis for a personality disorder, rather than schizoaffective or schizophrenia. Like, I think what people who don't know anything about it think schizoid means schizophrenia, which is not at all what schizoid personality is.
Not at all. I'd be having a lot more fun if it was.
Yeah, of course. So, as I'm sure everyone here then is aware, is that generally speaking, what schizoid personality disorder is lack of affect, right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, because I'm schizoid and I have a lot of affect.
Really? So, okay. So, like, again, I'm not a clinical psychologist, but my understanding of how schizoid generally manifests is in decreased affect towards a lot of activities and towards things like that. But I mean, it doesn't mean you can't. That's another fucking misnomer, misconception about psychology.
Oh, dude, there's so many misconceptions. Is everything that you have ever read mostly about the schizoid. It is the most misunderstood, ill-conceived, DSM or otherwise, understanding diagnostic criteria for any fucking PD in existence.
Really?
It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. And the only reason I know this is because I got diagnosed a while ago, and I was like, okay, I want to do more research. And then I'm like, there's no research. And then I started reading the research, and the research that does exist is the research.
That's so weird.
I gave you a link to something you might find interesting, which was a piece of research that basically, it was a piece of research that discusses the idea of why it's so difficult to even do research on a schizoid, or why it's difficult to seek to give them any kind of therapy. And one of the things they came to the conclusion with was that a lot of the times therapy fails or doesn't continue forward because the psychologist themselves loses interest in the patient, because the patient themselves don't seem to be improving in their regard. Even if the schizoid themselves is improving internally, they don't see an outward improvement, and so a lot of the times the psychologists abandon therapy. It's not even the schizoid that abandons therapy usually.
Should I read this abstract real quick?
Yeah.
Patients with schizoid personality disorder often challenge clinicians because of their seemingly detached and restricted affective behavior. which may be interpreted as a lack of motivation for treatment and lifestyle changes. That's ridiculous. Why are you fucking perceiving it that way? Okay. However, Mueller indicated the intrinsic dynamics of ambivalence in schizoid disorder, and it has been discussed in later literature on psychopathology. Schizoid ambivalence refers to contrasting feelings in patients of a seemingly emotionally detached appearance that may curtain an inner heightened sensitivity and a longing for closeness. That makes sense. This article introduces different diagnostic and theoretical descriptions of the ambivalence construct in the schizoid personality disorder. The discussion is elaborated by means of case example, presenting both the patient and professional's point of view on the treatment process. Okay, so whatever. The rest is just their description of
It's a qualitative thing.
This is very qualitative, yes.
Super qualitative. But
because we're talking about an interpatient, a patient and psychologist or psychiatrist.
If you read it, it's so hilarious. We were laughing because last stream I read the whole thing, mostly the whole thing, and we were cracking. We were dying. We were dying because there's portions of it in which where the therapist or the person that was, the therapist themselves was discussing how essentially they lost interest in the patient because it didn't seem to be going anywhere. But then when they talk to the patient says, "I'm doing a lot better. This is helpful." and so like there's all these internal workings that are happening that aren't being externally exhibited, and so thus the therapist runs on the assumption that it's not working, and so they usually abandon it or suggest it ends. It's so bad.
I'm wondering why they would do that. Why would they do something like that? They must be trying.
Because there's no transference. That's why. There's no psychological transference. So because of the disorder, there's no psychological transference, and so thus it feels as if they're not getting anywhere. They're not connecting to their patient at all on an emotional level. And that's because the patient doesn't want to connect to them on an emotional level. And there are ways to treat somebody without having to do so, especially a schizoid. And I've learned that from my own psychologist. She's done that successfully.
I would say it's not really abnormal for any patient who suffers from any kind of psychological, I wouldn't even say disorder or any kind of psychological disturbance, which is that sometimes they're not going to associate with you or come to be your bestie. I mean, that's why.
Well, not bestie, but like just some kind of transference. Like there's a lot of the methods that a psychologist implements. Implements relies on connecting to them on a human level. And when you can't connect to them on a human level because they don't know how to connect on a human level, and so thus aren't interested in doing so, they see the therapy as it goes on as being a failure or lacking productive value.
Okay, I would say that this is a very specific type of therapy that they're describing. Not all therapy requires you to engage in this kind of transference as you just described it, or this kind of connection with the therapist. And actually there's a lot of therapy that I've engaged in that didn't involve me get involved emotionally with my therapist whatsoever. I've used for personal issues that I've had to go through, which are mostly related to mild autism and things like that, and PTSD, which is not real PTSD. It's I was bullied as a young kid, and I had to get over that.
No, that's real PTSD.
No, I got over that though. I dealt with it.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, I get that.
It's done. I used to have super big hang-ups about the way I was bullied as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't exist for me anymore because I went to a therapist and it did work for me. But the thing that I had to do for that was something called MDR therapy, which is...
Yeah, I did some. That was fun.
Have you ever done that?
I did. It worked really quickly on me because of the way I function. I didn't have to do... I did like 2 sessions. That's it. And I got a ton out of it because I don't really have the emotional connection to myself that creates a situation in which I can't go into specific parts of my mind that are too difficult. I can go into them and they might cause me a significant amount of stress in an involuntary fashion, but I can't emotionally connect to it. So then it has like physiological responses, my body to it, but I don't really get strong emotional responses to it. So I'm able to kind of get to the bottom of things a lot faster as long as I have somebody I'm working with.
Did you have a positive response to EMDR?
Yeah, incredibly positive. I mean, I had a initially negative response, like my body, and because I dug up stuff that I wasn't aware or understood. It was a situation in which I thought I knew the source of the trauma, but then when I did the EMDR, I actually located the true source of the trauma.
Yes, that's why EMDR.
Yeah. And so when I found the true source, it kind of rearranged my entire understanding of what little bit I understand of what it is my identity is, like, and how I developed. So that was really interesting. Like, here, I'll just give you. This isn't really the subject I want to talk about, so I don't know how much time do you have, so I don't waste too much of your time with this.
It's fine. My only point to anyone listening is that if you've had a bad experience with other types of therapy, try EMDR. It deals with,
I have a few people that have tried it. Yeah,
it deals with deep cognitive sort of issues by deep brain stimulation, and without having to put anything in your brain, by using by stimulating both sides of the brain at the same time, using either lights or physical stimulation. It's a really, really good form of therapy that actually deals with the way that your brain functions. That's not going to just be someone talking to you. It's actually dealing with it on a more cognitive level to deal with the brain structure. So
it's pretty interesting.
That's a little bit more, and that's why EMDR works. It's because it's not just going to be like to talk to one another, because sometimes they can be disconnected. It's trying to reach that.
That's for sure.
Right. And that's what's good. Reaching the Broca's door.
So I'll give you,
which is a part of the brain.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown of what happened to me that was really interesting. And this is one of the benefits of being schizoid, is that I can talk about this stuff and not like recollect a bunch of stuff that fucks me up or anything. I'm just kind of indifferent to it. It's part of that whole ambivalence that comes with it. So yeah, in my case, I thought the initial source of trauma was getting diddled, right, at a young age.
God.
Yeah. So it wasn't that. What was interesting is that the source of trauma was the external reaction to my interpretation of that event. Because during the said event, I was already developing schizoid tendencies due to negligence, right? And my personality traits were already going that direction. The individual, I think I was like 9 or 10 years old, the individual that it occurred with was the only, I think, emotional connection on a intimate connection I ever developed initially, right? And so because of that reason, I actually participated in acts with that person. It's prepubescent, so there wasn't any kind of libido drive, right? It was psychological kind of intimacy that actually drove me toward participating in more of those activities with that person. So it's kind of disturbing to most people, but I actually would ask for more activities to occur because I associated to some concept of intimacy, not sexuality, because I was prepubescent, right? And so because of that reason, after it was found out, I didn't realize the gravity of the situation. I thought it wasn't a big deal, and I guess again it's those disconnect traits. And I thought, this is cool. This is what friends do, right? But this is what's interesting. And the person was much older than me. Not much older, but, teenager or something.
Oh, okay. So you were the younger person, though, in this.
I was the younger person. Yeah, I was the younger person. Yeah, certainly hope so. I didn't get diddled by someone younger than me. But that'd be weird. But point is, this is what happened. This is what screwed me up. And this is what EMDR actually helped me discover.
Being older than you was probably a little bit more aware of what was happening than you were, particularly in your position.
Well, I was like 9 and they were using their power over me, and they were like 16 or 17, right? So
okay, that's rape, right? Like you've been able to categorize that within your mind, that what that person was doing to you, even if you didn't perceive it as the time as what that person was doing to you was rape. Have you?
Absolutely. Like on a cognitive level, like on an intellectual level, yes. What happened to me was horrible and incorrect, and it should not have occurred, right? But the psychological components involving myself, what happened was I interpreted that as intimacy, right? So what occurred afterward was
this processing, but yes, okay,
yeah, that's how it was processing in my mind. and it was because I didn't have intimate connections to other people that I was like, this is what it's like. Oh yay. And so what happened was and it was a gentleman, by the way. And what happened was when it got found out, all that stuff, I was told by everyone, including therapists and doctors and everyone, that what had occurred to me was horrific and terrible and traumatizing and damaging.
Well, it sounds pretty horrific and terrible to me, just prima facie.
I get it. I get it. But this is what I mean. This is what I mean. I'm not trying to justify it in any way. I'm not some fucking
I'm
creep.
probably not going to change my mind on that. I'm just saying.
No. Yeah. What is it called? What do you guys always say? Aydin Paladin does not like bad things. Yeah, we get it. No, I get it.
No, I don't like bad things, and that's very bad, my dude.
That's super bad. I get it, but this is my point. This is the point. Let's try to get past that. The point I'm trying to make here is that what actually gave me the PTSD and what actually reinforced my schizoid personality further was that I was told by my external world that what had happened to me was horrific, but I had associated it to positive feelings. So then in turn, I then associated intimacy and positive feelings to disconnect from them because they were bad.
God, okay. Oh, I get it. All right.
You get it? Okay. So that's what kicked off the schizoid in me at a young age. Like, I had some traits, but it kicked off hard because I thought, oh, intimacy is bad and intimacy is wrong. And feeling,
let me ask you
feeling good feelings like this are negative.
We've never spoke before right now. And you have to know and have to, and I know that you have, we obviously can get into the development of the schizoid personality disorder.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
But you know that what happened to you as a child is incredibly wrong and fucked up.
Yeah, it's unethical in every which way. And if anyone ever, I'm a father, so I know.
Oh wow. Okay, so
I have 2 daughters and a wife.
I'm sure you would.
Which is also anomalous. Yes, I would murder
them.
Right? I would murder them and torture them. Yes, but my point is
I'm glad we're.
No, you're good.
I
hate the internet.
I hate the internet. That shit.
I hate the internet for that reason. No, I'm not gonna have a fucking what's his goddamn Amos, whatever the fuck his name was on my show. Yeah, no, like, I don't need.
We don't know each other well, so when I come in here and you're like, and by the way, like.
Aydin, do you support these actions?
In your life. You can never be responsible for shit that happened in your childhood.
No. My point is that EMDR.
Please.
No. That's not what I'm about to do. That's the last thing. I know the mess that you've been. I know all the bullshit. Your heart was beating. I know all the bullshit that you've recently been through. I'm not going to do that as far as like on social media bullshit, like all this stuff.
Oh no. I wasn't thinking that. Like it's just like, oh please don't.
Yeah, I know. Shit. No. I'm not that kind of. No, that's not what I do here. That's just not. I am not. Unfortunately, that's part of the reason there's been a few times, like once or twice, where out of the server we had to kick somebody out that is unfortunately ASPD, and because they like try to get into that stuff, and then we're like, okay, bye.
Actual pedophile shit. It's like
advocating for concepts on a like logical level or something, because they're like emotionally disconnected and they only care about consequences. A lot of ASPD, not all ASPD, hashtag not all ASPD, because they're sociopath and psychopath. So there's different.
I would also say that I wouldn't trust anybody who even says that they want to sit in their corner and just
as far as ASPD goes, or pedos.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're a pedo, and I mean, like, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
the anime stuff I don't care about because literally, like, half of anime porn is.
Oh, you're talking about lolly shit? Oh no, thanks.
Just like half of it is because the characters in.
Straight up CP. Yeah, I know, it's really bad.
I mean, like it's like it is like half of every character in anime is like 14, 16, and so like
then you get into like nation-based then you get into what is it ages of consent via state being 16 in some states and blah blah.
There are states where I think the youngest age of consent is like 13.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing.
Not in the US, but in the the European Union, there are states where
it's pretty
13.
bad.
So that shit's really fucked. Yeah. Please don't. It's very disconcerting. Please don't.
Okay, so you heard it here, folks. Aydin Paladin disavows all pederasty and cannibalism.
Oh,
So
no, okay, actually, I won't disavow cannibalism because I find it. But if your friend like died and gave you their meat, because I've heard that was a
I
story, by
know
the way,
it's a joke reference from previous stream you did with Adam.
I would not eat my friend's flesh.
Yeah.
Any flesh, I find that horrifying. And if you did that,
Okay.
oh fuck that. But sorry, but pederasty has
Okay.
a fucking. So don't fucking do it. It's disgusting. Stop.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay. I think we did enough disavowing. We're good. We're good. I think we're covered. Everyone that listens to my shit knows this. Don't worry. Now you can actually drop if you care to. You can actually drop a Twitter link after we're done maybe to help out my channel, and it won't involve supporting pederasty. Okay, don't worry.
I feel like I'm gonna get clipped out of context just for
no. Yeah, fuck them. But okay, so this is what I actually wanted to talk to you. After half an hour of talking to you, we can actually get to what I actually wanted to bring up. What I actually wanted to bring up was this idea, and this has more to do with your interests and your kind of specialty, like human sociological sort of behaviors and things like that. There's an issue in particular with the schizoid that I've been discussing with a variety of people on the stream and different zoids and stuff. That is something that isn't often talked about and isn't really talked about at all in any research, at least that I've come across pertaining to the schizoid. And it doesn't just apply to the schizoid, but that's all I have experience with right now. And I think it does in a very unique way. And that's something, and I don't know if there's a term for it already. And if there is a term for it, please tell it to me, because I think I'm a big brain that came up with the term. So I like to call it anomalous cognition. Okay. And when I refer to something like anomalous cognition, I'm referring to this. Whether it was genetic components or just PTSD or nature and nurture reasons that you develop the disorder. What happens is you disconnect socially, you disconnect emotionally from yourself, so you lose a sense of identity, as well as disconnect socially because of that loss, right? And so since you don't connect to other people on a social level, and you also don't connect to yourself via the development of a conventional sense of identity, because identity, a lot of identity is developed through social interaction and connection, as well as emotional connection to others and yourself, right? That's a lot of what a identity is. And thus,
yes, identity is an onion, right? We have individual identity, and then so it is the Shrek onion. Actually, it's very funny that actually is how we define this. Whereas that you have your social identities and your external beliefs, and then inside you have your core identities. That's your more personal individual identity. Yeah. So if you don't have either one, I'm wondering
what the fuck's going on, right? Okay, so let me explain what happens. This is where it gets into this anomalous cognition I'm talking about. And this is something that I really, really want to work with people on. And it's also part of what I'm doing. Because I guess one thing I should tell you really quick is the point of the channel is to support awareness, as well as help other schizoids find other schizoids on my server, which is vetted for schizoids. Yeah, it's vetted specifically for schizoids, because there's no such thing as a schizoid community that's active on Earth, and I'm trying to build that. And also, I guess the closest thing would be the schizoid Reddit, but you know how Reddits go. And
I completely support what you're doing, because people need social support. Is always a good thing for anybody to get help, to know that it's other people who are struggling with the same issue. Yeah, okay. That's awesome.
Okay, thank you. But just remember, if you already know anything about schizoids, compliments don't do shit for me. So, but thank you. It wasn't a compliment.
It was a legitimate, that's a good fucking thing, dude.
Okay, good. I'm glad you think so. Whatever. But in any case, I'm doing it. And okay, so this anomalous cognition concept is the idea that because you are you don't develop the social or the self-emotional part of the identity, all you can rely on as a child, especially as a teenager, is intellectuality, right? So you interpret the world via intellectual means, right? That's it, 90% of the time. So
that's very similar to autistic people, by the way.
Yes, I know. So this is what's interesting, and it might apply in some aspects to them as well, this idea I'm trying to think of. And so what happens is you grow up creating for yourself, if any kind of identity. The schizoid has trouble even doing it with that on an intellectual capacity. So you end up studying, like a lot of us end up studying philosophy, psychology, all sorts of subjects, just in the search for meaning and identity, right? And because all we can do is search for it on an intellectual capacity, because things like social intuition and emotional intuition are a different language.
You study what you don't understand. You study what you, well,
yeah, you study. Go ahead.
My field is communication because I'm autistic, and I went into communication because I couldn't understand human communication. So that's why I went to study it, and I studied it for.
Okay, so maybe this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I think there's a distinct possibility, and that you yourself, be it different than my own, also possess this sort of anomalous cognition, okay, to a certain degree. Okay, so in any case, what happens is we develop all our connections via intellectuality, and it makes it sound like we're super cool big brains, but it doesn't really work that way, because then we become highly inept at society, like being human and taking part in society as like in general, and we end up doing either depending on the situation, you end up doing stuff that's self-destructive, can be a little toxic, so on and so forth, to other individuals, but generally yourself, because what happens is this is the conflict, because there's so many things that develop within the human being that are, if you want to get into a little bit of evolutionary psychology, your mind, the way you develop your cognition and the way the human brain was designed to develop it come into conflict, right? So many of the things that drive motivation in the self are social and emotional, and when you're lacking a lot of those components, you find yourself in a situation in which you can't seem to find your motivating factors, right? Or any kind of psychological reactants that would actually motivate you to continue forward, like most people intuitively do, right? And so
react is a very specific term. I just real quick. Psychological is a very specific term that refers to when you are being told that something is a thing you're supposed to do, you react against it.
I guess it's a wrong term, but things like But in any case, any kind of motivating factor, any kind of psychological motivating stuff, like, it doesn't apply to us. What we understand about human behavior doesn't really apply to most schizoids, right? Because they developed cognition based on intellectuality, because that's all they really had. But what happens is that there's one benefit from it. A few benefits from it that are really interesting, is that a lot of forms of psychological manipulation that is understood about human behavior does not apply, and it doesn't work. So things like pathos-based arguments are ineffective. Things like pathos-based propaganda is ineffective. A large variety of things like ideology are ineffective, right? Oftentimes the people that I talk to that have an ideological position, what's hilarious is, like, say I have like a socialist schizoid on my server or something, I don't have a major issue with it, but what's funny is a lot of the times is that their interpretation of socialism is their own individual interpretation, and their individual interpretation is what brought them to the conclusion that they see some merit in it. It has nothing to do with the kind of societal groupthink sort of vibes you get from a lot of people that follow those sort of things. Because
it's very difficult for me to imagine a socialist individualist, but I can understand how someone who might have...
It's a contradiction, to say the least, but because it's funny, because like but it exists, because they see certain aspects of it, they studied it, and then they went, I like this, this makes sense to me, blah 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 blah, like, but they didn't actually go through the trouble of wanting to join a group of socialists, wanting
I would imagine most
do any of that sort of stuff, right? And there's a lot of grillers. There's a lot of grillers within it. I would say the vast majority of politically or of schizoids are grillers. They're just like, leave me alone, stop. And they're very into pragmatic solutions. They're into moderate positions, and I guess what enlightened centrists or whatever, because they're just like, oh, I just want tranquility and moderation so that things don't go completely head over heels, shit bananas, and it negatively impacts my individual life, right? So, and it's usually the position. And there's a lot of libertarians amongst schizoids, I would say, politically, because of like the indifference
Makes
to
sense.
so much
We're
stuff. Yeah, so
libertarians
it's just
are
like, hey,
heavy
you want to eat
individualists.
somebody? You fucking eat somebody. You want to fucking, you know, like, you know, you want to kill
Well, yeah,
yourself?
we're,
Fucking
we're,
just do it. Like, you know, like that's kind of like, I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just saying.
no, but I mean, like libertarianism as an ideology is heavily individualistic. That's why I'm like, when you're saying there's people who have schizoid personality disorder tend to be communists. I'm like, oh, that's not going to work out right for you.
And
It's not
yeah, no joke. And then also things like religion are difficult because of, see, that's the issue. Ideologies, religions, a lot of those things require sociological components. And when you have a group of individuals that are disconnected from what we understand about sociology, like just society and human behavior, you end up with an anomalous population of anomalous thinkers. And so I guess part of what I'm trying to do is, besides kind of do this kind of support, relatability thing for schizoids on a more personal level, I'm also attempting to work with others to try to kind of advocate for this idea of the usefulness of this sort of anomalous cognition and how it can be implemented in a positive way. And part of the reason it's so important to the schizoid, in my opinion, that this occurs is because a lot of the reason, and mind you, I'm going to give credit to every single person that I've had a conversation with on the stream as well as on the server, because if it weren't for you guys, I would not have come to these conclusions. I developed these ideas over the course of the last few months. But and my life but okay, so this is what
cool, by the way.
I'm glad you want to advocate for is because the schizoid, the reason they're neglected as a patient type or as a PD or whatever is because we don't have a impact on the external world like a lot of PDs do, right? So we're pretty innocuous as a personality disorder because we don't.
Finally, you tend to be not too, because it's not antisocial personality disorder, but you tend to be more removed from society. So people
more asocial than antisocial. It's more of an asocial sort of position, right? Because
but my point is that then society can kind of ignore the schizoid people. It can kind of be like, oh, you don't have to care about their existence.
Exactly. And so people don't have to care about our existence because we don't have a negative impact on our external environment generally, except for the people that are all bummed out because he won't love me, or why is he so disconnected? Why is Jimmy not want to go to any of the parties? Why is he so introverted or whatever? That's like as bad as it gets, right? Meanwhile, stuff like BPD and NPD and ASPD and other things that like even schizophrenia have like these kind of external impacts on the people and family around them, to where people seek out a need to like help these people, right? The only thing that the person that suffers the most with the schizoid is the schizoid, right? So the schizoid suffers ironically alone, and the joke or the term I always use is I guess my white pill sort of term when it comes to the schizoid is we want to be isolated, but we don't want to be alone.
Right, because you retreat into the self as part of a part of the disorder. It makes you associated to a degree with society at large, and therefore, as a part of that, society at large doesn't take care of you or pay attention to you in the way that they do.
Because we don't have an impact of any kind, like other PDs.
People who have more, let's say, visible personality disorders or visible psychological disorders.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And so my advocation, I guess, is for creating a positive impact on the external world, and to show the world that people with this anomalous cognition can actually be of great use. And the way they can be of great use is if you do everything you can to help them with their negative symptoms. So like anhedonia and avolition. So what's interesting is if you remove the anhedonia and you remove the avolition, you end up with a healthy individual that could also, if they choose to, expand their own emotional range and emotional empathy to varying degrees, depending on the therapy and their efforts. that can have this form of cognition that allows them to see the world in a completely different way that could actually be highly useful on a practical level. If you want to talk about certain job positions, if you want to talk about certain type of work, if we're talking about researchers, if we're talking about people that imagine having an employee that is both happy and has no social life.
Well, I'm sure that Walmart, etc., would love that.
No, I get it. We'd make the amazing worker bees, but I'm talking on more. I think a lot of schizoids probably wouldn't be down for that. They probably need something a little more stimulating because of the way they tend to be.
I would say, actually, do you know, because I'm not aware of this, do you know that there's been like IQ tests that have been done on people who tend to have schizoid personality disorder? Because
no,
that
it's fascinating. I wonder they might do poorly. I wouldn't be surprised, only because of the apathy or the indifference toward the IQ test itself.
Oh, that's very true. That's very, because like, you know,
because I can imagine them trolling the IQ test on purpose.
Yeah, they absolutely could. You know, I've been given multiple IQ tests over the course of my life. I'm not going to state them because I don't think it actually fucking matters, and I don't. It doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about who you are. But like, oftentimes autistic people, and there's only like 5% of autistic people who are women, and I'm in that very small percentile of people who are.
Well, ain't you special?
No, I'm not. It's not
special ed. Anyway,
okay, like it's like being socially, and I will use this word, retarded, is not fun.
No, we're all retarded here, so it's okay.
No, that's what I mean. Like it's not enjoyable.
Mm-mm.
Like
it could be. That's my point. It could be enjoyable. It could definitely be enjoyable.
That's not the problem, though. Like, you're supposed to get all this cool stuff from the fact that you can just sit there and crunch numbers all day or do whatever, and it's supposed to be great for you, but it's really not, because I'll say this at least. For someone who has serious... I know that doesn't come through on my YouTube channel, and it's because I'm a communication scholar. So what do you think I spent fucking 10 years learning how to do is communicate?
Communicate, yeah.
I could barely speak when I was in high school, and that was... had to learn how to do.
Yeah, what do you think I'm doing right now? It's called it's called adaptation.
Yes, exactly. And yes, exactly, my dude. So when when you look at this communication scholarship that I've been doing, and it's like what I'm supposed to like oh no, I lost my train of thought. God damn it. But
I do that all the time. It's all good.
I know.
We don't mind dead air on this show because our lives are dead air.
It's not dead air. I'll keep it going, but like
no, I can keep it. It's okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm supposed to like I'm supposed to do some kinds of like interesting research because I'm autistic or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not how it worked out. And I mean, like I think I have really good inputs into it, but
you have amazing inputs into it. But go ahead.
How it all works out in terms of I'm talking not so much about YouTube. I'm talking about like actual research and stuff. And it was, this is what I was trying to get at. Sorry, I lost my train of thought again. That when I went to grad school, the bullying that I experienced as a child came back, and I saw adults who are 30 plus years old
doing childlike things. Yeah, I know. That was why I stopped continuing my education.
Yeah.
Like that's why I got my master's and stopped, because I realized the ivory tower is a delusion.
Well, the ivory tower is a delusion. Yes, that's correct. But also, it was very disturbing to me to watch adults who are supposed to be my personal mentors were fantastic. They were lovely. They were wonderful.
I bet they were all associate professors.
It was the people around them that would engage in this same kind of like weird mean girl.
Tenure professors.
No, they were perfect too. It wasn't them.
No, tenure professors are much worse than associate professors. I've discovered in my experience.
I loved my tenured professor. I loved everybody.
You got good. You got good. Good for you, man.
I loved everyone. I loved everyone in my department, except for. Actually, it was more the associate professors who would get like mad at me and be like, "You should get rid of this person because they're kind of toxic." And I would do nothing but do my work. But that's. People develop, and I find this very weird because this is not how I feel. And again, I don't have schizoid, but I have autism, and it's Asperger's. It's not autism. But
yeah, you got burgers in your ass. I get it.
I get that burgers, but like what I would find so bizarre is when people would basically like pick you out and go, we're all gonna like fuck with that person because it would be really funny. And I could never quite understand that social normative thing of where it's just, let's just make fun of the person who's a little bit socially awkward. That never made sense to me. I will tell you that that is a thing that exists in modern, currently existing, like social justice.
That exists everywhere all the time.
These are people who like fly LGBT flags and they go like,
PhDs, so on and so forth.
But if you show up and you're a little bit weird socially, you're a fucking pariah. And that is my experience was, and it's no offense to my department. It wasn't really their fault. It was because I was socially retarded. That's how it is.
Yeah, but it's an acceptance of that sort of behavior for the benefits of a person that has that sort of cognition. Because I'll tell you right now, you're saying, oh, you know, I didn't produce anything particularly special because of the way I am. I have to
I produce really good research and really good data and stuff like that. But
I thought that's what you meant. But so you did. But what I'm trying to say.
No, I produce data that people to this day are citing. So
yes, good, because you're retarded, and that's good. So, let me tell you what I want to say. Okay, it's okay. No, it's okay. You interrupt as much as I do, so it's all good. And I don't mind it at all. No, it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, we don't care about that too much here. If you interrupt too much, I'll just tell you to shut up, and you can tell me to shut up. So I don't care. In any case, okay. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of the schizoids I talk to all the time, and they aren't all like, oh, brainiac, intellect, like they're not, but they are in whatever individual interest they have, right? And there's a lot of interests that schizoids have that and also oddly enough, they pick up a lot of information different too. So you could sit down with a lot of schizoids and have like these really in-depth conversations on a variety of topics that they are uninterested in. And it just kind of happens in their search for meaning and self. And what's funny too is because there's something really interesting I think develops in the schizoid or people that have this kind of cognitive this cognition, and it's I guess what I would call intellectual intuition. So it's similar to a social intuition.
Yeah.
So it's similar to a social intuition and a emotional intuition. We have this intellectual intuition. So we tend to like want to gravitate toward new information, regardless of how personally uninterested we are in it. And it happens a lot. And it's kind of a joke amongst schizoids is that we have this like large array of useless information that we don't really care much about. And it's one of those things that's funny because there's I don't know if you've ever heard of this little comic on the internet called Schizoid-chan, but it's this little character that basically says, she's out with a friend and she says, oh, that's this type of bird, right? Because they're looking at birds. And then the other girl says, oh, so you like birds? And then she says, no. And then she then follows that up by saying, oh, and that's this kind of bird. And then the other girl that's not schizoid says, wait, you don't like birds? And then the schizoid girl says, no. So she's able to like name birds, but she has no interest in birds. And so it's kind of funny because it happens to us a lot.
That's very different from my experience as someone who has an autism spectrum disorder, where if I'm interested in X, I'm interested in X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, infinitum.
When I have a focus, I stick to it. Like there are stuff that interests me, but I have like this weird tendency to collect and gather information. And sometimes it has to do with how stimulating I find it to be at that any given moment. But a lot of it gets lodged in my brain, and I don't really care about any of it. And it's just there. It's kind of funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it's kind of hilarious. Like
to me, again, as a autism spectrum disorder person, to like hear.
But I'm ADHD too, so I don't know if that's
Well, it's similar but different because like for me, I would want to know everything about every bird ever.
If you were interested in birds.
But because I became interested in one bird, I would want to become interested in all birds. I think
I think
autistic would work.
Yeah, I think that definitely see a difference there. For me, it's about outcome when it comes to where the practical use of that information and knowledge is usually what drives me. Like what connects to what. Like it's like I have this path of information and I make these connections all the time from one thing to the next, and I just follow that path and then just kind of retain a good majority of whatever information has led me down that path. So it's like I'm going down these rabbit holes all the time. And I just pick up info as I go along, going down these rabbit holes, and that's usually what happens, for me at least.
I find I get interested in a certain topic, and then I become obsessed with that topic for a little bit. I absorb all the information I can about that topic, and then I just continue to absorb it, and then move on to the next topic and try to synergize information. That's how I operate.
See. But nonetheless, that's a very anomalous way of experiencing life. That is a very anomalous way of a very anomalous sort of cognition. That's not generally how people live their lives and learn from their experiences.
Oh, of course not.
That's
of
my.
Course it's not.
So
this
my
is all abnormal psychology.
No, that's the point. That's what I'm trying to advocate for. Is to stop seeing it as not necessarily to stop seeing it as abnormal, but to stop seeing it as a net negative for the individual. Because I think there needs to be.
No, I don't think it's net negative. I just want people. I don't want people to be negatively affected by the abnormalities of their psychology, because these things are actually normative in the fact that they exist within the population. They are always going to exist. So we can't treat people poorly because they have these different cognition states.
No, but it's not even about treating people poorly. I mean, that is important, but I think part of the issue is that there doesn't seem to be a separation between, say, in my example, the schizoid personality type and the schizoid personality disorder. So when I think of a disorder, I think
do you have schizoid personality type or schizoid disorder?
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. I think they're two separate things. One should be treated, the other should be. I
believe they are treated differently. They are treated differently by the DSM-V. In that schizoid personality type and schizoid disorder are different things.
Okay, see, well, I would like to see some research on that in particular, if you could ever find it, because I haven't seen much on. Because what I understand about when they differentiate between a personality type and a disorder is that, it's how functional is your life, right? How is it negatively impacting your life but what's interesting is that a lot of the dysfunction that is being caused is because of external factors and external interpretations of that person's existence, not because.
Well, schizoid is considered part of the dark triad, okay, which is a personality type and not a disorder. It's a person, so someone can be narcissistic without having narcissistic personality disorder. They can have schizoid personality type without being diagnosed.
Schizoid. Okay, maybe I'm just. You know what? You're right. This might just be an argument. Not argument. A discussion of definitions here. So let's just. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that the person that has a diagnosed disorder of schizoid, right? Were you to remove the negative symptoms, such as anhedonia and avolition and any other kind of comorbids associated to it that are, self-destructive or so on, or unwanted by the patient, you would end up with an individual that has this sort of different form of interpreting the world around them that can then be functional on a society-based level. And on top of that, it would also require the external world to find a form of acceptance of those benefits that they can bring. So there's actually a few companies doing it. I've heard before of companies trying to hire divergent individuals for the purposes of experimenting with the possibility that they might be able to produce better results when it comes to specific types of work. And
we have different ways of looking at things. We have different, people who are neurodivergent have different ways of looking at things that people who are neurotypical don't necessarily have. So yes,
they literally do not possess certain abilities, and vice versa. We can't do what they're doing. But the thing is there's enough people doing what they're doing. No offense. So And so with the small percentage of individuals that have these kind of neurodivergent ways of thinking, and I can only speak for the schizoid specifically, and this kind of intellectual intuition, there tends to be an ability to kind of construct certain ideas and go down certain pathways, philosophically, psychologically, like whatever, intellectually in general, that other people would have trouble doing because of the barriers that come with being a social creature, that come with being a emotional creature. And that's what's interesting too, is the schizoid is not devoid of emotion. They just don't get impacted, or don't care to impact
Right.
yeah, the
The
external
emotion
world.
is it's processed in a different way, I would say.
So we are emotional. It's just that we don't even understand half of our emotions usually. But and through my therapy and through my situation, I've improved things like my marriage and my connection to all the people, the few people that I love, on
Well,
an
you're
deep
married
level. Yeah,
is in and of itself a good sign.
yeah, no, and it's a significantly happier marriage, and it might have been because of a lot of this work. And luckily for me, when it comes to the schizoid and creating emotional connection, it's about finding one or two things that you can emotionally connect to, and then creating context so that you can keep enjoying other things in association to that thing that you've emotionally connected to. You have to. It's like contextual. It's really interesting. So it's all like kind of like linking chains together and things like that. So that kind of motivates you to do things. So like I don't care about things like, for example, certain errands that I need to do or run, but then I associate it to the person that I love and the fact that it makes them psychologically more stable and happy if I do it. And because I want that to occur, I then in turn am motivated to do these things that I am uninterested in doing.
Yes. Autism or Asperger's, whatever you want to call it, works in very much the same way. It's like sometimes I don't want to do stuff either, but because I know it would make someone else happy, and it would make someone else
which in
feel
turn
good.
gives you a good feeling, which then
Right.
motivates you to so on and so forth. Yeah,
Actually,
it's
really similar disorder in that way, I
yeah.
suppose.
That's why I wanted to talk to you. There are some similarities. The other gentleman that I've talked to that I've had on my show, and we've had discussion is Burger Creek. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, so I was just on. I did a little talk on for an hour on his mermaid charity stream he just did, and I've had him on my channel like once or twice, and we've had discussions on schizophrenia and this sort of anomalous cognition, and his take was really interesting because it had to do with depending on the time period, this sort of interesting sort of thinking. There was a place in society for it, like the schizophrenic had a shaman. The schizophrenic was the tribal shaman. The schizophrenic was the individual that could bring otherworldly knowledge or information to the people of his tribe. And so they were treated with respect. And so the schizophrenic could maybe live a happy life in a situation in which he was socially accepted. And this is another thing that I find.
I think it's a case for everything that we identify as modern mental disorders. They had some kind of role. Otherwise, they would have been bred out, right?
Yeah, there's a reason they existed. Yeah, evolutionarily wise, yeah, they would have been bred out at some point, but they don't because there is some practical use to them. And one of the funniest ones is I don't know if you're familiar with garden hermits. Have you heard this term? Hello?
No, I haven't heard that term.
Okay. So it's these, I believe it's 18th century. But yeah, if I remember, it's 18th century and mostly in like Europe and stuff. But it was a lot of aristocrats would essentially have a stay-at-home adornment, like a human adornment, considered what was called a garden hermit. And so what they would do is they would find somebody that's essentially what would be a schizoid, right? That is very knowledgeable and kind of an introvert and in huge degrees. They would offer them the ability to become a hermit within their property. And so that person would be fed and given shelter, whether it's a cave with furnishings or whatever. And all they had to do, their job was to be essentially a human ornament in that garden. So that when other aristocrats would... and what's funny is that the schizoid themselves were probably kind of indifferent to that aspect of it. Hold on, sorry. I have somebody coming in here.
No problem.
Close the door. I'm streaming right now. No, tell her I need like 15 minutes or so. Okay, sorry, I have to stop the stream pretty soon. It's 4th of July after all, but I want to get to this.
I know it is. It is. Happy 4th.
Yeah, I'm so indifferent to things like this, but it's just funny. But like, I care about him contextually because my kids care about him, so on and so forth. Anyway, so the garden hermit basically would sit in his little cave and read books all day, and they would give him books, and they would give him whatever, and he hang out with animals and just study whatever's out there and just chill by himself. And he wanted to live that way. And then occasionally you would get other aristocrats coming, like and they would show off each other's garden hermits, and it would be like, hey, look, come talk to my garden hermit. He can give you sage advice about this or that subject. And so you would go out to the garden with your aristocrat friends, and they would go talk to this guy, like to get, some kind of deep conversation with them about some subject that they wanted to talk
It
about.
kind of sounds like Diogenes, you know?
Yeah, Diogenes. It's like Diogenes minus throwing poop and peeing on people and jacking off. Yeah,
Right.
it's
But I mean, that was Diogenes. That's a good
schizoid.
question.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of philosophers that might have been schizoid, because they were so uninterested in like society and participation. They were studying society, but they weren't interested in participating in the society. And so they were intellectually studying human behavior at the time, because that's all they had to do. They weren't interested in things like money or power.
Again, that's how I came into studying human society. It's because I was born my whole life. I was always an first of all, as a woman, I could never figure it out. I could never figure out like how you were supposed to act around other women. I could never.
Extra difficult, I'm sure. With
Well,
the way women interact with one another, it's just woo.
That in of itself was a weird
No,
microcosm.
but that's extra sort of like social bullying that you had to endure. Like I got beat up and shit like that, but the stuff that a lady usually has to deal with socially, if they're awkward, is incredibly different.
Not just when you're awkward, it's just like when you don't even get it, like you have no.
No, yeah, it's even worse. Yeah.
And I mean, that was I did fine enough because I had like one friend, and that was okay. And she was also who probably had the same sort of struggles that I did, and that's why we connected. But I think that women are totally supposed to rule this stuff. But I think Diogenes actually maybe got a good glimpse of what was going on. I would say again, though, going back to what I said before, though, is that female autists and females who have these kinds of disorders are extremely rare, so it is hard to come across them. But this is not I would say that like a schizoid disorder, from what I've looked at in the data, do seem to say that all of these disorders skew male. They skew male very hard. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, genetically and biologically and evolutionarily, it would be that we find that autism and schizoid and all these kinds of disorders are like 90% male disorders.
So we're just a bunch of Chads, is what you're saying. We're a bunch of Sigma males.
I don't know. I think it is there.
The literal Sigma male, the actual Sigma male.
There must be some reason why this would be a case within society, because this kind of stuff doesn't just develop and then continue to exist within a society over time unless it serves some purpose.
And it does. That's my point. That's why I'm trying to advocate for it as a positive. Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I'm saying. On an evolutionary psychology level, as well as a practical level, and vice versa, like it's something you can advocate for. It's something you can push for in a really useful way. Huh?
I'm just wondering why it's all males. I mean, females, we have our right. It's to make babies. I know that makes
because we're better.
But it makes feminists really the woman is to be protected and
I know.
And do whatever.
Let's not get into all that. I don't want anybody jumping down your throat over that kind of shit.
Well, what? I don't give a fuck.
Okay, well, that's fine. I don't think anybody would, though, on my channel, honestly, or on my server.
No, but I've been an active men's rights advocate for the last 5 years, so I don't give a fuck.
You just got all the MGTOW peepees hard. But go ahead.
No, I've been working with the honey badgers. I
know the honey badgers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been an active men's rights advocate, and I think that would probably make sense as to why you don't find high levels of maybe schizoid and autism in women, because it doesn't serve the evolutionary purpose in women. It doesn't mean that they're not susceptible to it, because the genetics are the same. So eventually,
probably wouldn't make good mothers if they're emotionally disconnected from their kids.
That's so awful.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It probably wouldn't make great mothers. So I could see why it probably wouldn't work out too well to have a lot of female schizoids and so on. Like, it might not be evolutionary useful.
have to be hyper emotional, hyper empathetic. That's why I've for years debated about whether or not I want to have children, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, like something that I have worried about is that, like, what if I have a child and they cry and they're crying about something, and then I'm like, that's just irrational. That's illogical.
Yeah. Well, that's a different conversation I would love to have with you in the future about that the schizoid or autistic maladaptations and intellectualization defense mechanisms. It's a really tough subject.
These are aberrations. I think you're right though, but these are aberrations, but they're aberrations that probably do have a purpose within human society at whole, because it tends to be people who are a little bit autistic, a little bit schizoid maybe, who make, I would say, kind of like the big leaps in a lot of
we just don't make it in the history books because we don't want the credit or care to get it. Like, usually that's what happens. We're just like, okay, I'm in it for the research and thoughts. I don't give a shit about fame or fortune. I just care about science, or care about philosophy, or care about progress of some kind. Actual progress, not progressivism, but progress is important to us because that leads to a more tranquil society.
It's a very difficult thing to intimate, like for me personally, because I mean, the reason I started my YouTube channels, because well, first of all, I was having trouble with my DOT program, and it was for a number of reasons. But I thought, well, I want to teach. It's all I want to do, because I want to contribute positively to the wealth of human knowledge. It's been my only goal, and to this day is my only goal in my entire life, is to contribute positively to the wealth of human knowledge. And that
I would say that's my goal now.
I'll tell you that.
I would say that's closer to my goal now. I didn't have a goal. I just pretty apathetic most of my life because of that's
autism versus schizoid.
Yeah, I mean, no, but the reason I'm apathetic is because I was alienated by my fellow man the vast majority of my life, because I couldn't understand anything that was occurring. So because of that, the reason it created a giant ball of resentment and hate. So that kind of is something I've struggled with. Is the one aspect of my emotional range that is still strong is rage. So that's why it's anger and frustration, is schizoid angst, because I have a lot of cold rage, and a lot of schizoids have cold rage.
And I get that. You have to reduce that, because speaking
I agree. It's not helpful.
From one person who has difficulty understanding humanity to the other, the rage stuff is not helpful. It is not helpful to you. It's not helpful to the world, and you gotta reduce it. You really do. And I know it's super hard.
Okay, so I know that. That's what I'm working on. Don't worry, I get it. Like, and on top of that, it's. I mean, when that's your emotional range, it's kind of hard to let go of that, especially but yeah, the resentment is decreasing significantly now that I found my own people to have a conversation with.
It's interesting to me, because I've never felt rage towards people. I've only ever felt personal depression, so I don't know.
That's why, and that's not good either, right? It's either self-destruction or outer destruction. I choose external destruction.
My destruction has always been internal.
Mine is mostly emotionally external. So I'm not crazy or abusive or anything, but yeah.
I think that feeling is the same. I think it comes from the same place. And I think that, for me, despite the fact that my feelings of destruction are all very internal, trying to destroy myself, and if other people who have similar feelings have more external feelings, regardless, you have to understand that these feelings are valid, they exist, and that's how you feel, but you gotta get them under control, man. You really have to, and be like, yes, I know I feel this way, I accept that I feel this way, but this is not a good way to feel, and I have to find ways.
Aydin, I am so sorry. I have to cut this short. My wife is gonna rip my head off if I don't go, because it's 4th of July, and I was only supposed to be on for an hour and change, and I've already gone way past. But
hell yeah, man.
But in any case, I got to show real quick. Patreon, PayPal, Litecoin, Bitcoin, whatever the fuck you want to toss at me, do it. I always joke around. I always say, you're a bunch of schizoids. You don't care about anything. You're using your money on nothing but dojins and hentai. Spend some money on me and this project. And in any case, Aydin, thank you for being on. If you could do me the honor of throwing me out on Twitter, the link to this conversation, because maybe other people on your maybe people that
know where it is, but
sure,
send me the link.
I will
share it out.
And then that way other people that listen to your stuff might be interested in listening to this conversation in particular.
I think it was a very productive conversation. Thank you for talking.
Yeah, and we can maybe try something else some other time. And do me actually, if you can, because I've tried to get Sitch to it. I need to talk to fucking Adam about moral intuition. I don't care if he doesn't want to record it. I just want to talk to that guy about the stuff he talks about in regards to this. But whatever, he's never gonna listen.
Just say you want to talk about MMT, and then
I know. Then he'll fucking jump on. I don't want to talk about that bullshit. Anyway,
say Adam, I want to talk about MMT.
Just bait and switch him like fucking like Crowder and all that. I show up, he shows up wanting to talk about MMT, and I'm like, that's not what we're talking about, Adam.
I'm not trying to talk shit about Adam. Just that Adam really wants people to talk about MMT with him, and even I'm like, I've read all this research, and even I'm like, first of all, I don't entirely get it, even after reading the research and reading the fundamentals on it. And secondly, I don't care.
yeah, I get it. Trust me, I get it.
I know it's his big thing. So
my best friend is like into all that.
I'm just saying, you want to talk to Adam? Tell him you got an NMT stream.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bait and switch him. That's fucked up. It'll just make him like block me from every form of fucking media. But anyway, but hopefully we could talk again one day about some stuff.
Yeah, anytime. It was a really nice conversation. Thanks for talking to me.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Peace out. All right, guys. Later on. Thanks for listening to the stream.